In our headlines on this Friday, February 27th, here in South Korea, President Lee Jae-myung embarks on a diplomatic tour this coming weekend to meet separately with his counterparts in Singapore and in the Philippines, respectively, next week. And the Lee Jae-myung administration and Hyundai Motor Group inked an MOU on an investment pledge of 9 trillion Korean won by the car maker in the Saemangeum area of Jeollabuk-do province. Meanwhile, the current blockbuster at local theatres, The King's Warden, is encouraging its fans to flock to its filming location for a first-hand experience of the teenage king Danjong's final days in exile. We start with details of the president's diplomatic agenda at the start of March amid his planned summits in Singapore and in the Philippines, respectively. Our correspondent Yoon Jung-min reports.
The South Korean president will embark on a state visit to Singapore from March 1st to March 3rd. President Lee Jae-myung will meet Singaporean Prime Minister Lawrence Wong for a summit and lunch, as well as President Tharman Shanmugaratnam for a state dinner on Monday. An AI dialogue with industry leaders is also scheduled. In a written briefing on Friday, Blue House spokesperson Kang Yoo-jung said Korea looks forward to working closely with Singapore, seen as a logistics and financial hub, for cooperation on trade, investment, and infrastructure, as well as AI and nuclear energy. Lee and Wong met last November on the margins of the APEC leaders meeting in Korea and forged a strategic partnership.
앞으로 양국은 전략적 동반자 관계에 기초하여 변화하는 경제와 안보 환경에 대처하는 한편 전략 첨단 기술 협력을 더욱 강화하고 인적 교류도 확대하기로 뜻을 모았습니다.
On March 3rd, President Lee flies to Manila for a 2-day state visit. He will meet Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. for talks, a state dinner, and a business forum. The leaders will explore ways to deepen cooperation on the defense industry, infrastructure, and trade, as well as build partnerships in nuclear energy, shipbuilding, critical minerals, and AI. The Blue House spokesperson noted that the summit takes place on Tuesday as the two countries celebrate the 77th anniversary of the establishment of their diplomatic relations. The Philippines is the first country in Southeast Asia to build diplomatic ties with Korea and has been a friendly country for decades dating back to the Korean War. The Philippines and Singapore are set to host ASEAN-related summits this year and next year, respectively. During the Korean ASEAN summit in Malaysia last October, Lee unveiled his ASEAN policy called the CSP Vision, or Contributor, Springboard, and Partner Vision, that puts cooperation on the economy and security front and center. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, earlier on this Friday, the president traveled to Jeollabuk-do province to make official a major investment pledge by Hyundai Motor Group. Our top office correspondent Song Yu-jin has details.
President Lee Jae-myung on Friday thanked Hyundai Motor Group for what he described as a bold and difficult decision.
정부를 믿고 또 이렇게 기업 차원에 어쩌면 상당히 리스크가 있을 수도 있는 이런 대결단을 해준 우리 현대차 그룹의 우리 국민을 대신해서 다시 한번 진심으로 감사드립니다.
President Lee was referring to the group's massive investment pledge of 9 trillion Korean won, roughly $6.2 billion in the Saemangeum area of Jeollabuk-do province. Hyundai Motor Group and the government signed a memorandum of understanding outlining the investment pledge on the same day. With this multi-billion-dollar investment, the government aims to transform the area into a center for robotics, hydrogen, and artificial intelligence.
광활한 부지와 풍부한 일조량을 자랑하며 물류와 교통 인프라 또한 탄탄하게 갖춰 나가고 있습니다. 현대자동차 그룹의 혁신 역량 그리고 풍부한 자원이 합쳐진다면 새만금은 최적의 시너지를 발휘하는 기회의 땅이 될 수 있을 것으로 믿습니다.
Under the plan, Hyundai will invest 5.8 trillion won to build an AI data center, 400 billion for a robotics manufacturing plant, and 2.3 trillion won for a 200 megawatt water electrolysis hydrogen facility and gigawatt-scale solar power generation. An additional 400 billion won will go toward developing what it calls an AI hydrogen city that will utilize autonomous vehicles, hydrogen mobility, and tram systems.
We estimate the project will generate some 16 trillion won in economic impact and create up to 71,000 jobs, contributing to the revitalization of the regional economy and balanced national growth.
Friday's MOU is seen as a cornerstone of the Lee administration's push to narrow regional disparities by attracting major corporations beyond the capital region. Speaking later at a town hall with residents of Jeollabuk-do province, President Lee reiterated that balanced regional development is not only a policy priority, but a survival strategy for the Korean economy. 송유진, Arirang News.
In other news, North Korea's Kim Jong-un was at the Kumsusan Palace of the Sun on Thursday. Now, this is according to the regime state-run media on this Friday. Kim was at the family mausoleum with new key members of the ruling Workers' Party. There, they reportedly reaffirmed their resolve to promote their party's program. Kim also took photos with participants of the 9th Congress against the backdrop of the April 25th House of Culture, where the event was held. The White House says U.S. President Donald Trump is open to dialogue with North Korea's Kim Jong-un. The statement followed a request for comment from the South Korean media in response to Kim's recent remarks regarding possible talks with Washington. Our Kim Do-yeon has more.
The White House confirmed Thursday that U.S. President Donald Trump remains open to dialogue with North Korea without any preconditions, signaling a potential opening for renewed diplomacy. This follows North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's address at the 9th Workers' Party Congress, where he said that Pyongyang has no reason not to get along with the United States if Washington withdraws its hostile policy and respects North Korea's current status as a nuclear power. He emphasized that the prospect of bilateral ties depends entirely on the attitude of the United States, although he noted Pyongyang will maintain a hardline stance as its baseline policy. A White House official responded by confirming that U.S. policy on North Korea remains unchanged. The official highlighted the stabilization of the Korean Peninsula achieved during President Trump's first term, referencing their 3 summits in Singapore in June 2018, Hanoi in February 2019, and Panmunjom in June 2019. Meanwhile, South Korea's chief nuclear envoy Chung Hyun-doo confirmed in Washington on Thursday local time that while the U.S. maintains an open stance, including the no preconditions aspect, there is currently no active working level contact between Washington and Pyongyang. Chung added that Seoul will continue its role as a facilitator to support a resumption of bilateral talks. While Kim left the door open for Washington, he strongly rejected any engagement with Seoul. He labeled South Korea as the most hostile entity and stated he will permanently exclude the South from the category of compatriots. Also addressing Pyongyang's Party Congress on Thursday, the Chinese Foreign Ministry reiterated a call for cooperation. Spokesperson Mao Ning stated that China, as a close neighbor, is closely monitoring developments on the peninsula. She urged all parties to work together to safeguard peace, stability, and the political resolution process. The shifting dynamics arrive amid growing speculation that President Trump could seek to resume direct talks with Kim during his anticipated visit to China, which is scheduled from late March to early April. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, the third round of direct and indirect nuclear talks between Washington and Tehran in Geneva back on Thursday ended with plans for technical-level discussions in Vienna next week. Our Lee Seung-jae has the latest.
U.S. and Iranian officials say they have made significant progress during high-stakes nuclear talks in Geneva, though it remains unclear whether a final deal can be reached to avert a potential conflict. Omani Foreign Minister Badr al-Busaidi, who mediated the negotiations, said the two sides agreed to resume talks soon after consultations in their respective capitals. He added that technical-level discussions are set to take place next week in Vienna. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, who led Tehran's delegation, described the discussions as serious and productive. He said there was agreement on some issues, but differences remain.
On some issues, we have now become very close to an understanding. On certain other issues, we still have differences of opinion.
Arirang stressed that Iran's key demand is the lifting of U.S. sanctions, a step Washington has long said would require major concessions from Tehran. There was no immediate comment from the U.S. negotiating team following the meeting. Meanwhile, tensions persist. Iran has rejected U.S. claims that it has resumed efforts related to nuclear weapons development. However, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said there is evidence suggesting Iran has attempted to rebuild its nuclear weapons program. Speaking to reporters at the White House on Thursday, Vance warned that any move by Iran to pursue nuclear weapons would pose a serious problem for the United States. He reiterated that the U.S. position remains clear. Iran must not be allowed to obtain a nuclear weapon. For now, another round of nuclear talks between Washington and Tehran is scheduled for next week in Vienna. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Back here in South Korea, transformation in defense posture is fundamental, given its declining population. Accordingly, there has been rapid integration of emerging technology into its military vehicles to ensure a strategic readiness. Our defense correspondent Kim Bo-kyung explains.
With the number of troops decreasing and future battlefields changing fast, the ROK Army is upgrading its technological capability to better respond to future warfare. Among the upgrades is the K-CEV, the Korea Combat Engineer Vehicle. These are K-21 armored vehicles equipped with AI-based remote control systems for surveillance drones, robots, and K-4 and K-6 guns. Previously, it was the soldiers' job to detect enemies and landmines one by one. But now, with drones flying above in the sky watching out for enemies and robots performing minesweeping duties, it has become much efficient and, most importantly, safer for soldiers to secure a route across the battlefield. With this controller, the K-CEV can be remotely controlled to identify obstacles, fire its guns to suppress the enemy, and clear a path for troops or vehicles. The Army's 11th Maneuver Division staged live fire drills in Yangpyeong on Thursday with these vehicles that are currently under a trial run, showing how these can secure a route while reducing the time taken almost by half.
Unmanned systems can enter dangerous areas first, followed by troops once the area is safe, improving both safety and efficiency.
A successful drill, but ROK Army plans to get more feedback before these vehicles are sent to the front line.
We will keep improving through training and field tests in various environments, building a strong force based on a manned-unmanned system.
With this 30-ton armored vehicle designed to minimize troop exposure and casualties, the ROK Army is working to prepare efficiently for changes in the battlefields of the future. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
K-pop girl group BLACKPINK is back as of this Friday afternoon with a third mini-album titled Deadline, marking its first full group release in over 3 years. According to YG Entertainment, the album title shares the best irreversible moments, capturing BLACKPINK at its brightest. The 5-track album opens with the pre-release single track Jump, followed by the title track Go, which features an explosive hook and highlights BLACKPINK's signature dynamic energy. Also celebrating the album's release, BLACKPINK, in collaboration with the National Museum of Korea, put on a light show on the museum's exterior in pink. A Korean biopic that is currently ruling the box office here is also boosting travel to the main filming location, Yeongwon County, where the teenage king Danjong spent his final days in exile. Our Jong-un was there.
Dozens of people line up at the Cheongryongpo dock in Yeongwol, Gangwon-do province. Once the inescapable exile grounds for King Danjong, who was banished by his own uncle at just 16 years old, it is now a bustling tourist hotspot. Driven by the hit film The King's Warden, visitor numbers here have surged more than fivefold compared to last year. Surrounded by the Seogang River and steep cliffs, the only access is by boat.
Visitors can ride a boat into Cheongryongpo, tracing the exiled king's path across the water. And as you can see behind me, the once lonely journey is now bustling with people.
Upon stepping off the boat, visitors are greeted by a dense pine forest. Further inside, they explore the stone monument which marks the original site of the king's exile and his reconstructed royal residence. Tourists walk around curiously, taking the site's solemn atmosphere.
I watched the movie The King's Warden, and since we had already planned a trip to Yeongwol to visit the observatory, I thought we definitely had to come here too.
Among the site's landmarks is the Gwanumsong pine tree and Manghyangtap, a stone tower he built while longing for home. Many visitors say the film has given deeper meaning to what they see.
At first, I was just admiring the scenery because the water was so clear. But then I remembered the movie scene where the raft breaks apart in the water. It made me realize just how miserable he must have felt.
Tourists are also visiting Jangneung, the royal tomb where King Danjong was eventually laid to rest. Around the burial area, which is said to be significantly smaller and further from the capital than the tombs of other Joseon kings, visitors can be seen taking photos, carefully reading the information boards, and quietly paying their respects.
Coming to Jangneung and thinking about the harsh life and struggles King Danjong endured breaks my heart. I hope this tragic story is passed down to future generations.
People also stop by the commemorative pavilion honoring Omungdo, the loyal villager who, according to legend, recovered and buried the king's body. Less than a month since its release, The King's Warden is already nearing 7 million viewers. The film is drawing visitors to historic sites tied to the young king, reflecting the Korean public's continued effort to remember and honor their past. 정혜림, Arirang News, Yeongwol.
And come March 1st, cafes here in the country will be able to cater to our furry friends and their human companions should they want to do so. Our correspondent Park Gun-woo was out and about to bring us this report.
Fluffy pups sit on chairs and enjoy a puppuccino. Some lie down as if completely at home, with their owners enjoying their coffee alongside them. Until now in Korea, most restaurants and cafes have not allowed pets indoors due to hygiene issues. But starting March 1st, stores that choose to comply with some new regulations are able to welcome cats and dogs alongside their owners, just like this one.
As dogs live shorter than we do, every moment feels precious. If more places become pet-friendly, I hope my family can go to places like these more comfortably without feeling self-conscious.
It's been hard to find places where we could go together, but with this change, I think we'll be able to spend more time together when we go out for meals. I also hope that more places, beyond restaurants and cafes, will allow pets to enter.
Key standards for stores seeking to become pet-friendly include maintaining distance between pets and other customers, and installing pet seats or leash fixtures to prevent animals from moving freely. Pets are also strictly banned from entering food handling zones, including kitchens with physical barriers installed. If these conditions are met, and approval is granted by local governments, businesses can officially register as pet-friendly establishments. The new laws mean pets could become a more common sight in public places like this cafe, but there's also backlash from those that are concerned about pets in public places. Good boy, Bunny.
I'm worried my young nephews could get bitten or startled and possibly hurt, as they might want to touch people's pets. My husband's also allergic to cats, so I think this could be uncomfortable for some people.
Some cafe owners also worry about misunderstandings between customers with pets and those without.
Requirements like vaccination checks are now part of the process, so we make sure to read and understand these rules because we have to comply. But if customers aren't fully aware of them, there could be some communication issues when we try to explain the rules.
But with greater promotion and institutional support from the government ahead, opportunities for those willing to spend more time with their pets are expected to increase. 박건우, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you everything you need to know from around the globe. In the U.S., former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton testified under oath and flatly denied any knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein's criminal network. Hillary Clinton on Thursday told a House committee in a closed-door deposition in New York that she never encountered Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and has no memory of meeting the late financier. This was her first formal testimony regarding her alleged ties to Epstein. The committee scheduled former President Bill Clinton to testify on Friday, marking the first time a former U.S. president has been compelled to appear before Congress. Also on Thursday, World Economic Forum President Birga Brenda announced his immediate resignation from the global organization. The WEF confirmed Brenda's departure following an internal review into his relationship with Epstein. The White House announced on Wednesday that First Lady Melania Trump will chair a United Nations Security Council meeting on Monday, as the United States assumes the body's rotating monthly presidency. Her office said she will address a session titled Children, Technology, and Education in Conflict and will emphasize education as a path towards tolerance and global peace. A United Nations spokesperson said no spouse of a serving world leader has ever chaired a meeting of the 15-member Security Council. The European Commission told member states on Thursday that they may use the €147 billion European Social Fund Plus to help provide access to safe abortion care, including for women traveling from EU countries where access to abortions is restricted. The Commission issued the clarification after the My Voice, My Choice campaign gathered more than 1 million signatures, triggering a formal response under EU rules. Critics in countries including Malta and Poland said the move interferes with national health policy. Paris on Thursday awarded its 2026 Grand Prix de la Baguette after judges evaluated 143 loaves in the city's annual competition. Judges scored each baguette on appearance, baking quality, smell, taste, and crumb structure. The contest awards €4,000 in prize money, and the winner traditionally supplies baguettes to the French president's office. This year's title went to Setam Parapillai, the Gatipan of Fournil Didot in Paris's 14th arrondissement. Chu Ji-han, Arirang News.
Southern regions and the east of Gangwon-do province saw winter mix today, but further up north it was a different story. In Seoul, we had fairly sunny skies with warmer and dry conditions. In fact, the dry weather advisory continues in the capital area and inland regions of Gangwon-do province. However, morning lows are still on the chilly side. Tomorrow, Seoul starts the day at 2 degrees, Daegu at 1 degree with sunnier skies in most regions, except on Jeju Island. Then highs will go up as high as today at 16 degrees in Seoul, and southern regions will see a big jump in temperatures with Daegu, Jeju, both getting up to 15 degrees Celsius. And as the March 1st holiday begins, the weather turns unsettled. Rain starting on Jeju on Sunday night will expand nationwide by Monday. Then early spring weather returns next week. With that in mind, here's a look at the international weather conditions.
Right, those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up right after this break is our daily panel session, so do stay with us and thank you for now.